This might be somewhat counterintuitive if you don't know how platform building works, but I'm here to tell you, if you want to blow up, you've got to niche down. In this video, I'm going to talk about why that is and how niching down, or niching down, depending on where you're from, can help you to get so much more focus when you sit down to make content. And it can also bring the right followers, readers, subscribers to your channel, your podcast, your book, the exact right readers, the exact right time, so that you attract exactly who you're looking for and your platform can absolutely blow up. My name is Sebring. This channel is all about helping you with self-publishing, personal development, and online business. Those are three things that I really love talking about. So if you love videos about that, please consider subscribing. Okay, so let me take you back to when I first started blogging. My first blog ever was a very generalized blog. It was just my name, lanesebring.com, which is now a website still, but it's a totally different website with a very focused aim. It's about self-publishing for personal development and online business. But when I first started it, I just decided I want to blog. Okay, this was like 2012, 2013. I thought, hey, you know what? It would be great to just have a blog. And so the thought I had in my mind, this is where a lot of people are, is I thought, well, gosh, there's so many things I want to talk about. I was a pastor, and so I thought, well, I want to talk about being a pastor, okay? So I'll talk about ministry. And I like leadership, and I like topics that surround leadership, so I thought, I'll talk about leadership. And then I thought, well, I like life in general. Like, I don't want to limit myself, you know? I want to talk about life as well. And so I decided to call it Thoughts on Ministry, Leadership, and Life. Okay, that is a very broad set of topics. Ministry, like that could be 1,000 different things. About being a pastor, about being a church leader, about serving as a volunteer in ministry, about teaching Sunday school. I mean, it could be anything, right? Ministry is so broad. Leadership, what kind of leadership? Who am I leading? What is it? Is it corporate organizational leadership? Is it leading volunteers in a social setting? Is it self-leadership? What kind of leadership is it? And then life? What the heck? Like, what is life? Like, what am I talking about? Am I talking about my kids? Am I talking about relationships? Am I talking, who knows what I'm talking about? So here's what happened. I wanted to be broad because I thought by being broad, maybe that will attract a lot of people, right? You're just kind of casting a wide net, and then everybody would just know, hey, go to lanesebring.com to get all of the thoughts that you need on leadership, ministry, and life. Okay, well, guess what? First of all, no one cared about lanesebring.com, nor should they have. And anybody searching for things about ministry, they're not coming to my website. About leadership, they're not coming to my website. And they sure as heck aren't coming to my website about things about life. So I had a problem that my audience did not know that I was there. And even if they did know that I was there, other than like my mom, there was no reason to go to that website. Now, that was only half of the battle. The other part of this that made it even more complicated was when I would sit down to write a blog post, because back in these days, most of what I was doing was written content. I would sit down and I would go, okay, it's time for me to do a blog post. And I'd go, okay, it's time for me to do a blog post about ministry. I don't know. Who am I talking to? Am I talking to other pastors? Am I talking to people that are in my church? And is it kind of like a Christian living type of thing? Am I doing devotional content? Sometimes I'd write about that. Sometimes I'd write about pastoral leadership. Then I'd think, oh, this is also about leadership, so I should probably do something about that. And I'd write something about leadership. And then I would sit down and think, well, I haven't covered life in a while. And if you can see what I'm saying, I had no focus. So when I sat down to write, when I sat down to create content, I didn't know who I was talking to, and I didn't know why they would care. That might be where you are. Like maybe you want to start a podcast. Okay, that's really hot right now, and it's cool. It's a great medium. It's very conversational. And so you can attract an audience and you can talk to them directly in a podcast, and you're in their ear, which is a pretty cool thing. So maybe you want to start a podcast, and so you're thinking, okay, I'll start a podcast, but what is my podcast going to be about? Maybe it's going to be about me, right? Your life. Well, unless you have a really interesting life, or you're a celebrity and people just are dying to know about your everyday and what you think, it's going to be very hard to do that. Or maybe you want to start a YouTube channel and you think, oh, I want to do a vlog, a lifestyle vlog. This is what a lot of people do. They see like Casey Neistat. They go around and skateboard around New York City and make these amazing vlogs and have 10 million subscribers, and they think, oh, I could do that. The problem is nobody cares about your life, okay? Like nobody cares about my life. Until we provide value in these mediums, nobody gives a crap what we do, what we eat for breakfast. It's fine to post it on social, on Instagram, on Facebook, but if you're talking about building a platform where people look to you as the authority, as the expert on some topic, that eventually you can write a book about that topic, eventually you can create courses about that topic, eventually you can teach others about that topic, and they'll actually pay to learn from you, to get coaching from you. That can't happen until you have focus. So going back to my example, back in 2012, I didn't know all this. I was completely oblivious to this, but all I knew was that I didn't know what I was writing and I didn't know who I was talking to. And those are two big problems. Now, fast forward to 2014, I got very focused. I decided, you know what, for the time, I'm getting rid of lanesebring.com. It wasn't working for me at the time. Didn't have a clear vision for it, but I knew what I wanted to talk about. I had been to college. I had majored in communication, where I learned how to connect and communicate with people. As you can see, I'm good at it. I'm just kidding. When I was in seminary, which is like master's degree program for pastors, I learned how to bore everyone with the Bible. They called it preaching. And so I was very frustrated because I thought, wow, there's a whole set of communication principles on this side. And then there's what I was taught in seminary to preach the correct way. And it was so technical and so stilted. And it would make my seminary professor proud, but I didn't really feel like it would connect with real, actual people. So I went looking for resources on how to preach effectively, how to preach in a way that really reached out and grabbed my listeners and pulled them in and really communicated a message, because I was passionate about that. Guess what? I couldn't find it. I couldn't find what I was looking for. So I thought, what if I just start blogging about the things that I'm learning and the things that I'm thinking and the things that I'm discovering about preaching and communication and how these two things can be married. We can still have great preaching that's still grounded and biblical and sound, and also really good communication that reaches out, grabs people, pulls them in, does all the things that communication is supposed to do, compelling communication. So I created preachingdonkey.com. And it was not for everybody. It wasn't about ministry and leadership and life and all this stuff. It was about preaching. And it was not just for pastors, it was for pastors who preach. And it was not just for pastors who preach, it was for pastors who preach and who want to communicate better. And it wasn't just for pastors who wanted to communicate better, it was pastors who were open to coaching, and not just open to coaching, but open to coaching for me. So if you can see, I went from this very broad, wide, like massive kind of catch-all, ministry, leadership, life, and everything in between, to something much more narrow, to the point where you might think, wait a second, if your focus is on pastors who preach, who want to communicate better, open to coaching for me, you're talking about a small sliver of the pie. Yes, absolutely. That's the trick. You want to narrow it down to the people who, when you write, who, when you make a podcast, who, when you do a YouTube video, when it falls in front of the right person, they're like, this is what I've been looking for. This is it. This is the thing that like I always wished was there. I can't tell you how many times on the Preaching Donkey side of things that I get emails almost every day from people who go, oh my gosh, I just found you. I just watched 15 of your videos. I've been looking for something like this for so long. Thank you for providing this resource. And it's humbling and it's amazing. And it wouldn't have happened had I not narrowed my focus and niched down in order to blow up. Now, I'm not saying that that brand has blown up. It's done well and it continues to grow, and it's far larger than I ever imagined it would be when I started back in 2014. But here's what I know. If I had not niched down to the very specific person I'm targeting and the very specific type of content that I knew I had to make, there's no way that would ever have grown. I could have talked about ministry leadership. I could have talked about preaching in my ministry leadership and life blog quite a bit. I could have done that, but nobody's typing in LaneSebring.com. What does he think about preaching? But I got preachingdonkey.com to rank in searches for how to preach and how to write sermons. Then I went to the YouTube side of things and really started focusing on trying to get things to rank on YouTube. And that channel has seen some amazing growth. And then in this channel, I decided, okay, I want to go after people just like me who want to write a book, which I've done twice, but who, when I was writing a book, I didn't know where to start, what to do. I wanted to be a one-stop shop for people who have an idea and they want to self-publish. They don't want to mess with the publisher. They know their idea. They want to make it look good. They want to make it look professional, and they want to get their ideas out there in the world, and they want to start making money. But what I've realized is that really what a self-publisher is an online business owner. It's just not every self-publisher really treats it that way, but that's what you are. When you create content and you market that content, it's a real shame to write a book and not have anybody find it, not have anybody buy it, not sell any copies. And your goal may not be just to make tons of money, although there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine. If you sell tons of books, make tons of money, give tons of money away, save tons of money, take whatever you want to do. But if you just write books and you don't know how to market them, and you don't know how to package them, and you don't know how to present them and position them in the market, then you're really gonna be disappointed. And so self-publishing and online business go hand in hand together. But then the other thing is if you aren't developing as a person, you aren't developing disciplines and habits and practices that make you able to focus and write and do the things that it takes to be successful in business, in online business, and in self-publishing, then those two goals aren't ever going to come together. So in this brand, I kind of have a triangulation, but I'm still going after the same type of person. I'm going after entrepreneurs or wantrepreneurs, meaning they want to be an entrepreneur. Maybe they're starting a side hustle, or they're just trying to figure out, how do I generate some income online, doing something I love in a way that's passive. I want to be there to help that kind of person, because that was me and that is me. I still need coaching, and so I'm talking along the way as I go and trying to share what I'm learning. And so my question for you is, if you're trying to develop content and you're trying to build a platform, who are you talking to and what are you saying? Who are you talking to? Who is the person? I talked in a previous video about how the person that you should be trying to go after is yourself, right? You're going to create the best kind of content for you and for people like you, okay? So that might be a great place to start. That's what I did. I wanted content on preaching, so I made it. I wanted content on how to self-publish books, so I made what I wish I had had. And so who are you talking to? And then what are you saying? When people first get started, there's always a hesitancy around niching down, because the hesitancy is, what if I get bored talking about the same things? What if I get bored talking about preaching, for example? Well, what if I get 5 years into it and I go, I don't want to just talk about this? The cool thing is once you build a following and you build a brand and you've niched down so that you've attracted the exact people who want that thing, eventually what happens is they want to follow you. And they want to hear from you, and they want to hear what you think. So I can now branch out into other things like church leadership. I can branch out into other things, not just preaching, but also how to lead a church, how to build systems, how to do all the things that I do in my job as a pastor that have nothing to do with preaching. And at the same time, also talking and continuing to discover and talk about how to preach with more impact and effectiveness than ever before. And so that's why it's so exciting to think about, if you niche down and you build a following of people who know you, like you, and trust you because you're the person who brought clarity to one problem, to one thing, to one category of things that they were just trying to solve, then you become the person that they go to for more things. In some ways, you kind of earn the trust of people so that they start to see you as the person that they can believe in and say, okay, if they're saying it, I trust them, and I'm gonna go where they go. I've got some videos here on online business that I would love for you to check out. You can learn a ton in those, my mistakes and some things that I've done well. I would love for you to subscribe. That would be really awesome. And I will see you in the next video.